Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Worm Whisperer channel. I'd like to thank you all for joining me. I've got a good video lined up for everybody today, and it's all about how to make some extra money from your hobby or commercial worm farm. There are ways to sell your worms to farmers, fisher people, and garden shops. You can also sell what the worms produce. This video is not going to get into setting up a hobby or a commercial worm farm for profit. If you're interested in setting up a hobby or a commercial worm farm, I have a few videos on setting up a hobby worm farm that you can check out on my channel. Selling extra worms by the pound. Worms will double their population every 3 to 6 months. This is a great way to make some extra money selling your worms as they reproduce. You can sell worms by the pound, which is how most people sell their worms. The more area the worms have and the more food the worms have, the worms will expand their population and give you more worms, and you can take out and sell these worms to other worm farmers. How many worms should I sell at one time? You don't want to sell your worms too fast or too many at one time. This will decrease your population very quickly, and it will take longer for the worms to repopulate to their normal population. So the best thing to do is only sell about half of your total estimated worm population every 3 to 4 months. This will give you 3 to 4 months for the worms to grow back their population over that time. So if you have 10 pounds of worms every 3 months, you can sell about 5 pounds of worms every 3 months for profit, and then have 5 pounds of worms to regrow back your population over the 3 months before you can sell another 5 pounds of worms to make extra money. Always make sure you are keeping your main population healthy and large, and watching closely that you never sell too many worms at one time. How much can you sell your worms for? Most retailers of worms are selling a pound of worms from anywhere from $50 to $75 a pound of composting worms, including the bedding. If you would like to go and get into fishing worms, they typically sell for about $1 per worm. You can check your local buy and sell and get a good idea of how much worms will sell for in your area. If you are selling composting worms for extra money, with 5 pounds of worms selling every 5 pounds every 3 months, you could earn an extra $1,000 every year selling just your extra worms. How and where can you sell your worms? You can sell your worms in more places than you would think. One of the places you can sell your worms that most people wouldn't realize are motels, hotels, B&Bs, and inns. These places in the summer time have many people coming for tourism and fishing, and are looking for a supply of worms to sell directly to their customers at the hotel or motel. Gardeners and nurseries. These are great places to sell worms because they will sometimes buy the worms in bulk depending on the season and on demand. You can sell them to these places and they will resell them with a small markup. You can also sell your worms to anglers and bait shop. Is also an excellent option to sell your worms in bulk. Buy or make your own small worm farms and sell them as a starter farm package with your worms included. This is a great way to make new customers and help new worm farmers get started with their own worm farms. You will want to make sure your worms are shipped correctly and get to the customer in healthy condition. It is best to sell them with peat moss in a breathable container in the spring and fall if you cannot ship them in a heated environment. It is best to ask for express shipping to avoid that worms are sitting in containers longer than they have to at the post office. And if you can ship them overnight or next day, would be the best possible option for shipping your worms. Selling worm composting, referred to as worm castings. Worm castings is a product of your worm farm and can be sold at a high value. It is referred to as gardener's gold because it's high nutrient content in your garden. You can use it indoors and outdoors, improves sprouting, promotes strong plant growth, increases moisture retention, and has a neutral pH, and it's easy to mix with all your soils. As you can see, it's a very valuable tool for worm farmers to sell. To sell it, you will need to separate the castings from the worms. One of the easiest ways to do this is to make smaller piles of worms and castings. You will then need to shine a bright light on the piles of the worms and the castings. This will drive the worms to the center of the piles, making them easy to remove from the castings. You can either add the worms back to another new bin, a bin in progress, or sell them using the methods earlier in this video. Selling your worm castings once you have your castings ready. You can bet bag them up in breathable bags, either plastic with holes or mesh. This will make it easier to sell them in weighted amounts. Most people sell the worm castings by the pound. It is best to look at other prices to get an idea of how much you will be able to sell worm castings by the bag in your area or through shipping. You can sell your worm castings much easier than selling worms if you have to do it through the mail. You only need to box them or bag them up and send them out. They will be fine being shipped over a longer period of time than the worms would be. Selling your worm tea in small bottles. Another profitable thing that many worm farmers overlook is selling their worm tea from their worm farm. This can be mixed with water, about 1 part worm tea and 10 parts water. You can bottle this up and sell it as a very good fertilizer for house plants, gardens, and potted plants. To keep it fresh in the long term, you can keep it cool in a basement, even only fill the bottle about 1/3 of the way and freeze the worm tea to keep it fresh for sale. You can easily sell this worm tea to gardeners that are looking for a nice, rich, organic nutrient for their plants. Bottles of worm tea can go from anywhere to $5 to $6 for a bottle to a gallon, going for $50 to $60 for a large bottle of worm tea. So as you can see from this video, there's some good ways that you can make some extra money from worm farming. So if you're interested in making a few extra bucks and you have the time and you want to go and do some of these things in the video, you can easily make a few extra dollars every month or every year and help out. And we always know that that's a great thing when you can have a few extra bucks in the bank. So that'll wrap up this video for today. I just want to thank everybody here who's joined me, and thank you for all the support of my videos. And once again, if you get value out of my videos, I hope that you'll like and subscribe my tutorials. And thank you for joining me in my worm videos. Have a great day. Thank you.